Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 534 of Geeks in Space. I'm RobChrisNateRob. You're going to watch Enemy Mine with us, kinda. And I'm here today with Chris DeBona.
Hi.
Rob Roseboom.
Hello.
And Nate Ostendorp. All right, who picked this
Your
one?
Mickey Mouse is one big stupid dope.
Yeah. This was Nate's pick.
Oh, thank you, Nate.
I like this movie.
I did too.
Me too.
I have never seen this movie. This was the first time I watched it. I chose it because it was on a lot of lists of must-see 80s sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one because it was not the usual movie that young Rob
Chris,
would like.
You're making terrible noises.
Young Rob liked lots of monsters and explosions. And you know, no love. No love or mercy.
No. No.
And this movie has all those things.
Right?
So
It's the relationship. Oh, so much good stuff here. So I had never seen this. I had never heard of this. I knew the Drax image because that's a meme that shows up with some regularity as one surfs about the internet. But like this movie just never really crossed my radar. Except for being like one of those movies sometimes you see in a list of, 80s movies. Yeah. I really enjoyed this like a lot. It's very flawed, but it was what I loved about it is it kind of lives in this space between let's say Return of the Jedi and the Abyss. The 80s kind of has their shit together. Like by the time Return of the Jedi is out, like we know how to do good analog compositing for our special effects. And so all of the movies from this point on like can generally like we have an expectation for what these movies are going to look like that we hold until the Abyss and then Jurassic Park really like turns things upside down. So I love these things where it's people doing the old effects but the best that we're going to ever do them, because in 2 years from now ILM's going to ruin it.
I will agree that like in terms of kind of classic looking science fiction, especially on the planet, like it is the best there is. Like I mean, like there's a lot of other stuff that looks like projectors and green screens, and this kind of looks pretty good a lot of the time.
It really does, and it's super craggy, and it feels alien. Sort of. It just
analog.
Does. It's good.
It's analog. So it starts off with a good shot.
Space.
I love this shot.
Yeah, nice.
That's good.
Because you think it's a moon, and then it's dead guy. So.
It's not what I had hoped it would be.
Yeah. It's funny. My son was like, he's like, so did they do this all with computers? They have computer models for this? And I'm like, no, not a single computer was used except for maybe to move a camera. And he's like, whoa, I don't know, Dad, that sounds pretty fishy. Yeah.
Yep.
Like this space station.
Some dude spent hours with a brush that had one hair on it.
Yeah.
Doing all this stuff.
I do kind of have some problems with this model. I'm not exactly sure what they're trying to achieve with this particular space station. Like, is there a center of gravity? Or how are we orbiting around? Like usually you do a cylinder or a wheel, but by doing the cylinders and the wheels,
they've been really embraced the shake weight technology here with this. Yeah.
Well, I will say, I actually think that this space station, if from a design standpoint, is fine. I mean, if your goal is to create gravity by spinning, it works, right?
Yeah.
But like, I actually think this was used somewhere before, and I just can't remember where. I think this was a reused model, and I have been trying to track it down, and I've been unable to. So.
All right. Well, that's homework for Jake and Elon.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Post that in the comments below.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
That's right. Smash that like button. We're looking forward to having our 100 subscriber Q&A special.
Likes if you loved it, subs if you liked it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this was my time code, I think, and it really reminds me of Buck Rogers dog fighting, where you've just got like, yeah, there you go. Like,
yeah, even though those follow the same patterns through space and everything, you can tell that, they're not unique. I think this movie, as we've already discussed, is one of the best looking space movies that we've seen so far of this era, for sure. Yeah.
That's not to say every shot works. There's a lot of clunkers and some questionable costuming decisions.
Well, what's funny is the woman on the right, the guy in the back, and the woman who's his friend, who's like, oh, he's dying. The brunette. They were all in Law and Order at one point, right? So, which is weird because this wasn't filmed in Canada. This is one of the few science fiction movies we've seen that it was not filmed in Canada. This was filmed in Munich and around Munich. So it's like, why did they pull these Law and Order actors out of New York for this movie?
So yeah, we're at the 5-minute mark, barely 6 minutes in.
No, I will say, like, compared to a lot of the movies that we've seen, very efficient storytelling. Like, the premise has been completely set at this point. Yep. Like, at 5:46, including credits. Like, not bad.
Yeah, and there's
they didn't waste 3 minutes on credits.
But now we are going to spend a very long time on this planet.
Hey, look, it's Huey's dad.
We're going to get to meet our new hero.
And here we are. The twin motivators, jealousy and vengeance. Vengeance is embraced at this point, all great things are spawned from those two emotions. And here he goes out to get some payback.
This ejection capsule couldn't be far from the wreck.
It's a nice vista.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Very.
I will say though, I had pretty good feelings about Dennis Quaid going into this movie, and I realized he's not a very good actor.
No, there's some problems. There's some problems with old Dennis.
I think that he got better. I think by the time he did the one with what's his name, where someone turns a little Interspace. Thank you. Yeah, I think he was pretty fun in that. But I think he, if I go back and watch it, I think I'll come to the same conclusion. Likeable, not a great actor, but likable.
He's pretty good in Everyone's All American. If you've ever seen that.
Isn't he?
Well, his
Huey's
son
dad?
is Huey he's Huey's dad from The Boys.
I see what you did there.
Meg Ryan's his mom. So
it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just watched Princess Bride with my kids, and so like this literally looks like the set of the Forest of No Return,
totally,
or whatever. It's just
the Fire Swamp.
The Fire Swamp. That's it. Yeah.
So I remember seeing this when I was a kid, and I thought this is solidly good right here.
So when Kat and I are watching this, she immediately is like, "That's the cutest thing," and so this all became the story of the happy turtle. It's like, "Oh, run, little you cute little guy."
No. They are going to provide a necessary building material for my survival game.
Ta-da!
So what's funny about this is so this is the Sarlacc pit, right? Everyone realizes that's the Sarlacc pit.
The
Sarlacc
forever
pit
resting place of Boba Fett, who will never escape it.
Yeah, ever. And the thing is, if you actually hit play, the thing burps, and just like with the Sarlacc pit burping after Boba Fett, it just takes away anything good about the scene. Like, and this is Wolfgang Peterson, who did Das Boot, and I'm like, when did he start liking burps?
But he came in late.
Joking burps. I don't get it.
He came in late. That was the first director's fault.
Yeah, he was more slapstick in his movies.
Right.
I just thought this scene was a magnificent space landscape, like craggy, but like doesn't look like a projector in a movie set.
Yeah, it's
great.
But it gets a little problematic here pretty soon, where he's spying on him while he's taking a bath.
He was lonely.
Look, man, when you're trapped on a desert planet with very little companionship, things happen.
I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
And then, okay, the superimposition of the binoculars here, like, pretty,
Ooh,
like, yeah.
we tried. I don't know if that's gonna read to Jake and Elon, but we're definitely in I don't know, scope vision.
Yes, and like clearly, you know, they had the intern working the razor blade this time. Like,
And not very skillfully.
There he is with his tail just flopping around in the breeze, bare naked.
He's like the Jeffrey
Sorry,
Tubin
hold
of
on.
the alien world.
I may need to mute my video here.
I wondered who was gonna be the first to make a Tubin joke.
Let me also say that where we were, I love that humans just have regular guns yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's a space Walther PPK. Because it shoots little zippy zappies, you know. Can I just say, Louis Gossett Jr., he puts it all on the screen. Look at how hard this son is working on this movie. You know, I mean, Louis Gossett Jr., after I saw him in this, I was just like, that guy can do no wrong. You know, he was the hardest working guy in Hollywood until Nick Cage.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we kind of see Dennis Quaid's character's true nature there. Like,
And I mean, look at this, man. All that fire on set. I mean, that's real stuff, man.
Yeah.
They built a big set and they had fire on it.
And electricity.
They might have done that later.
I think they did that in
They might have
post.
done that later. All right, cool. I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Wait, are you saying this isn't a true story?
This is the documentary.
So gross.
Oh, I have the wrong time code for the grossest thing in the movie. All right, never mind.
What was it?
I think it's 1912, isn't it?
Yeah, 1911.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Or he eats
like-
the one?
they may be far superior as far as it goes to guns and electricity and power generation stuff, but their s'mores are really way behind ours. And hobo pies, I mean, you don't want to see what they have for hobo pies.
For camp food.
They're made
human-
from hobos.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna run it through, but I'm just gonna do it once.
No doubt that much.
Yeah. It's a really good shot.
Yep.
It's a good shot.
This is where it like jags into jackass territory.
Mhm.
And now the movie's
He's
gonna
like,
change.
oh, okay, you did that. I respect that.
Some nice Starfield action here.
So the comment I left was a picture of my childhood. So when I was living in Virginia, my friends and I would get Roman candles and we'd shoot them at each other across a field, and not a big field, like a backyard. And so this is my childhood. It's basically getting hit by those little
We have a friend who does this with his neighbor to this day.
I mean, why not? It's so much fun, you know? I'm sure it's probably not a good idea, but it was super fun.
So here we are, typical white guy. They're switch there, you know, he tells him what his name is. He doesn't even try to pronounce it. He's like, all right, you're Jerry.
Jerry. Listen.
I'll call you Jerry. I love it.
So I have to admit, I found his conversion from angry, vengeful, you know, fighter pilot to buddy comedy a little too fast.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and the same thing later. Well, I'll talk about it later, but it's like their allegiances are not as set as you'd expect. You know,
They leave like little subtle clues that lots of time has passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's not.
Mostly beard growth.
It's a beard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely needed, I think, at least to make that more apparent.
Yep. They needed 2 more scenes, 2 more encounters where they're a little more hostile. Because, like, well, I mean, they're still kind of hostile through this, but this is so shenanigan-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's time for the building the house together scene.
And the girl in the house scene, like, that doesn't even look plausible that you would want to go in that.
Yeah.
Like, all of those things are petrified wood or something, and that is all going to fall on you.
So I have
And there's not even a single piece of shiplap.
So we're watching this, and Kathleen is screaming, "Is there not a cave anywhere nearby that you could walk to?" And then proceeds to scream that basically every time anything happens to their shelter until, the cave shows up.
They find a cave, yeah.
Yeah. She's like, "Thank you." And I mean, I guess the point is fair, right? They're clearly here for weeks. They didn't survey the area, like maybe walk, because it only takes them a couple minutes to get there, right? All right.
This, if you play it through, what I really wanted was this with subtitles as a gift clip.
While you're having such a good time and doing nothing, I am trying to think of ways to improve our situation.
That is a good line. There are actually several memes that go around with Drax's face.
And this guy just looks like he's looking for a place to set up a still. Like this looks straight out of Kentucky, right here.
Yeah.
We at this point thought that he looked like Stifler from is it the American Pie movies? So from this point on, we referred to him as Stifler.
That's cool. Dude, where's my car?
Oh.
Dude, where's my fighter ship? So I have to admit, I kind of liked it that they thought to get the wiring out of the ships to rig up the house and I also wondered, like, what's with the copper tubing? That's hardly space rated, but okay. Sure.
Yeah, your spaceship's got some plumbing in it. Like you got a hot and cold water.
Yeah.
This does kind of look like the cover of a romance novel.
It does.
I don't know what romance novels you've been reading, Rob Malta, but
well, I think conjecture.
Your Mickey Mouse is one big stupid dope.
I mean, is this owned by Disney now?
Disney is not going to like that.
Sorry, let it play just a sec. I love his reaction to that.
He does look like Stifler in that.
Yeah.
Well,
that's true. All right.
Oh yeah, I just mentioned you should let it play for a few seconds. Sarlacc attack. Because this is when he falls in the pit and the Sarlacc tries to eat him like button.
So this is the point where my kid chose to walk into the room.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yep.
Lazo watched this movie with us, and he got a little past this, and he's like, "This is really slow, Dad." And I'm like, just stick it out for a whole movie. Come on, man. He's like,
I know Dream and Ninja are streaming with Mr. Beast, and they're all playing that Alien game, but
no, Lazo's been modding this guy's channel for him, this new streamer, and I'm like, okay,
I like the Sarlacc pit a lot.
Yeah. But this was clearly a derivative. I mean,
for sure.
like Peter, this was a year after Return of the Jedi, so it's like, even the part where Louis Gossett Jr. shoots the thing in the mouth, then he goes.
I will say they deliver on it a little better, but
I agree.
That monster. This was Kat's comment. She just thinks that the when you see the face of the creature, it looks like the demon dogs from Ghostbusters.
It does. It does.
Like it's got a similar kind of vibe.
Similar aesthetic.
Well, I think that there was like a model making community in Europe and the United Kingdom at the time, and they were doing Krull, they were doing Return of the Jedi at Pinewood Studios. They were doing a lot of these things. Dragon Slayer, and so you end up getting these kind of similar looking animals out of that group.
Well,
I just think they must all be friends, you know.
And in Dragon Slayer, they use the scales pretty much like they use the shells here.
Good point,
Right.
Mr. Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that bothered me the most, even as a kid watching this, was that there were only 2 animals on this planet, right? I
Yeah.
just kept thinking about
No bug.
if they really wanted to eat something, they should just go and kill all the giant antlion creatures that are at the bottom of the pit
Yeah.
and use them for meat. And then once all the turtles start to overpopulate the planet because there's no more predator, I mean, it'd just be easy. They could pick them apart. They could live high on the hog here for 4 or 5 years before everything collapses.
I
just cover the planet in meteor-proof turtle shells.
But wait, where are what are the turtles eating?
Like
You
just
know?
dirt and stuff. if you look, they have like 2 proboscises that they're always sniffing the ground. So I figured they're just sucking up dirt,
they're
eating
rock
microbes
eaters.
out of it.
Or maybe there's something in those green pools. Maybe they're algae eaters, like the
maybe
little baby reindeers.
Whatever they're eating, it's not people. So you're safe.
Well, yeah, you assume that to be true.
Yeah.
But,
So I do find it interesting that we now collectively have like a 15-minute jump in this movie where nobody bothered to have a note through what is actually some really well done like scenes, but
it
kind of
is
slow.
well done. It's a nice sort of buddy, developing friendship, grudging, acceptance of each other's culture. You're like, wow, that's neat.
But also, it's a quarter of the movie and nobody really mentioned it, which I think is awesome.
Well, these things, there's like, I kind of feel like if something is good, we don't really comment on it that much.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to, right?
Yeah.
The work stands for itself.
You're not coming to us for good things.
Right.
So my question is, what makes green smoke? Is it copper? What does a green smoke mean? Because it's just interesting.
All right, we're gonna let it run.
Do it.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute.
Oh my God.
So I should tell you, at this point, my wife's like, really? So pregnancy is a big mystery in space, and then he made sort of the jokes like, hey, it's not mine, and she's like, and I was like, no. This is the first time a sci-fi movie did this. This is the prototype for all later pregnant alien stories. I mean, this is the one,
There's a lot
And
of
she's
them.
like, I don't know.
Well, and it's, you learn that they're asexual and they just can't, part of their life cycle is they just are pregnant at some point,
Yeah.
Which is
And that
actually
his
kind of
pregnancy
interesting.
doesn't go well.
But of course, now
Right.
their relationship
Spoiler.
changes. Oh, they find their cave. There's a storm.
Yep.
You
You have to go to the planet. You have to go to the planet Vulcan and recite this thing with me
Right.
for our very religious society.
also, for some reason, I start wearing a shawl.
Yep.
There might be some coding
now
in that.
I change my gender identity.
Yeah, that was a little like, that was another thing that had my wife rolling her eyes. She's like, oh yeah, so now he's all feminine. Huh? Is that what's happening here?
Well, you
And
know,
I'm like, it was the 80s.
I gotta say, I don't think that he needed the shawl. I think that Louis Gossett Jr. did the job. Like he softened up. He played the I guess vulnerability of
Nesting.
having the baby. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was well done.
So let this play just a few seconds here.
I'm not a woman.
Well, but pregnant people, the things get nervous. Everybody gets nervous before labor.
So just as someone who has had multiple meetings recently talking about how we show our pronouns in our email footers and in our chat messaging system, I feel like this would be a very like possible conversation on Earth now. pregnant people, everyone gets nervous during labor.
Yeah.
Takes a mess.
This was kind of heartbreaking. I'll be honest. I was moved by this when I was a kid. I was moved by it as an adult. Now that I have children, and and then my son was like, "Wait a second, what does he have to do?"
Well, it's the
explaining
like
cesareans on aliens to my son. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, now it's the and this is like probably the most Dr. Benway like cesarean I've ever seen. Like,
Yep.
peeling it like grapefruit, just grab the baby out.
Yeah.
I cut the umbilical, for both my kids, and it's actually not easy. So the idea of being able to just rip open some lizard's thick ass skin to pull out a baby, you need a knife, buddy. You need something. You probably need a Dremel.
Yep. I agree.
Just your fingernails ain't gonna do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Also, Kathleen, unsurprisingly, had very serious problems with that, as she's been on the
That's not
other
sanitary
side.
at all.
She did not like
So,
that.
I know he made a promise to Jerry and everything, but at this point, dressed out Jerry's probably about 90 pounds of usable meat.
Yeah,
And that's if you don't count, the internal organs or the baby. I mean, the baby is bound to be delicious, right?
Oh yeah.
And look, and that's like maybe another 10 pounds. All I'm saying is,
first of all, you're a horrible, horrible person. You can't feed the parent to the baby. That's not okay. You can't eat the baby. That said, there was never a scene where you didn't see. I mean, he could have dismembered him before burying.
right?
Just saying.
Yeah. That's a lot of calories.
Just in the Roseboom version of this story.
Well, he should take survival seriously. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, and he must have been getting pretty tired of Turtle.
Yeah, for sure.
Space Turtle. I mean, think of the last time this guy had a carrot or lettuce.
This is how it feels, right, dads?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's exactly like this.
Yeah, it's super slimy, and you still like him. They're still your kids.
It's like, it's a little lizard baby, but
They kind of are.
good. This is the part where he's trying to feed him beef jerky or something, and I'm just like, hey, hold off on the solid food, bud.
Right.
You gotta ramp up to that.
I don't think that Drac even has a tooth
28.
yet.
Yeah, maybe they come with teeth. You don't know.
That's true.
And it's a reptile, right? I mean,
Right. I didn't see anything on Jerry that would produce milk. I don't think so.
well, they didn't exactly do a full frontal of naked Jerry.
Right.
I mean, all we know is he has a tail and a butt.
Well,
Yeah,
that's among my criticisms of this movie.
So this was Nate, actually. Go ahead, Nate.
The music, actually, I think is most of this montage. like it's a bizarre montage. Like, you see him walking across all these desolate landscapes, and then
Landscapes.
sort of like epic Lawrence of Arabia style music.
Here we go.
Just,
What I wanted to say is, like, I would have paid good money to see him carrying around that kid and the baby Bjorn. Like, yeah, uncle. Yeah.
So these scenes I have mixed feelings about, all the uncle scenes and like the training.
I think it's actually super sweet. I mean,
You don't like that he notices that he's not a person, and they talk about why he doesn't have 5 fingers, and
yeah, it's a little clumsy.
wow, the guy who's Samus, he ended up doing a zillion like voice acting jobs. I mean, bunch of Marvel, DC, Spider-Man. I mean, this guy works.
And this is the only other movie that I can think of where I've seen Blade Runner guy, like the
Yeah.
replicant number 1.
Weird.
Well, he was in a bunch of movies actually. His name's Leon. So
Yeah.
Is he a professional?
he's not a very good actor.
No, he does the exact same thing that he does in Blade Runner, but I just,
Yeah, he's Brian James. In fact, he was in our last movie.
Just not being the same character?
No, he was not the same character.
Okay.
No, well, yeah.
The Brian James cinematic universe.
That's one of the worst cases of having an arrow through your neck I've ever seen.
Dun, dun, dun.
oh,
Wait, listen.
oh man, arrow through your neck. Oh,
He's a terrible actor.
That was my last day of shooting. Now I go home.
Can we have the death rattle one more time?
Okay, so
Yeah.
after
So Leon,
No.
you might remember from The Fifth Element, from Blade Runner,
Sure.
he's been in a million things. I think he only died like a couple of years ago.
So we had been on this planet now for like 70 minutes. And I gotta tell you, like seeing space again was actually a little jarring. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They're in
That's
space.
right, science fiction. Yeah, so he gets shot and he's back in space, and here comes the Law and Order actors.
Dun, dun.
well, okay.
Oh, right.
The auto freeze. I love that they have a foot pedal depressed wreath dispenser.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Fix that thing.
like, that is fantastic.
Yeah, my wife, she saw that and she actually laughed. She was like, "That's great," and not a lot gets that response from her. So she was
And,
just like, "That's
and if they don't know
that's
anything about you, you're a Protestant.
Yes, that's default. Oh my
Yep.
god.
And for me, one of my joys in watching all these movies is I find little segments of characters who I'd like to imagine what their story is about. And for me, this is the spinoff. This is the, Enemy Mine 2 is about these dudes, the stuff they find off of bodies, the mysteries they solve, while they're looting the dead.
and
These guys
I
are fantastic.
Agnostic,
it'd be like
no music.
no music. Yeah, no, and you should actually play the hitting the button. I think it's right there. Well, what kills me is like the auto wreath, the wreath-o-matic.
Yeah.
It's like I love that thing. It's like
Someone built that. Like that's a real prop.
Yep.
it's a prop.
It was a thing that had to happen.
And they fill it with crappy, like Walmart wreaths that are like
Yeah,
$5.
the fact that someone sat down at a creative meeting, they're like, okay, we got to have an auto wreath machine here.
Wait, go back to the people right there. So
These people.
back a little bit. No, the one where you had the three. Okay, literally all three of them have been on Law and Order. So like the one in the middle was a child psychologist, and the one on the right, I think he was a lawyer, and the guy on the left was, I think, like one of those frat boy killers that they would profile early in the seasons. Anyway,
He seems like he'd be a defense attorney and have like a lot to prove.
yeah, and the far right's the prosecutor, or a judge, or some shitty juror.
Tell by their visage.
Anyway, sorry for interrupting. Oh, yeah. Also, Nate, I think you're probably like me. When you saw the robots operating on them, you're like, "Oh, those are good robots."
Yeah, no.
And in the '80s, those were not
operating
cheap.
theater. The operating theater was actually remarkably
Very cool.
like if you had that today, you'd be like, okay, yeah, robot surgery, yeah.
It very much looks like, I guess I should jump back. It looks a lot like you'd see like a GM factory assembly line with those robot arms up and down the sides. I grooved on all that whole scene.
Well, since this was filmed in Munich, those were probably CUDAs, KUTAs, or CUDA, whatever that company is. Yeah.
CUDA, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we do now have the sad realization that Dennis here no longer has his beard.
Yeah. Time must have passed.
Yep.
Now, just the thing about this. So he's screaming and yelling, and what I realize is that what he should actually do is just float very slowly towards it. and then rely on the fact that his crew of henchmen had hacked something so that the door very slowly opens while
Man,
while,
that already?
while
I feel
going
like there was a movie
backwards.
recently. I feel like, oh man,
I
yeah.
don't know. Where did we see that before? You know?
Now I gotta tell you, I love this.
I did too. Like, first of all, he's acting,
All
right?
in.
But yeah, he did play for like 2 more seconds because like the way it explodes and it's sucked out is primo.
And
Model.
he's just like, all right, go. I shot out the side of my docking bay.
Whee!
Yeah.
That's a pretty good shot.
That's a good shot. It's a good looking space station, a good looking fighter, and going real fast. I mean, this is all I need, you know?
Yeah, had I discovered this movie the year that it came out, I would have really, really liked it.
Yeah. So we have a big break here where he lands on the plane, the planet. He goes down there and he gets into a fight with another one of the disposable bad guys.
Right, but he has to go to the enemy mine.
Oh, good. You should have a button for that. So he gets in a fight with the whip guy, and the whip guy he falls, and you can hit play.
Yeah.
My son says that was such a mannequin. Like, that was a ragdoll. What was that, Dad?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's like that was not good. Special effects wise. So the other thing about this is they were so fast to accept him as one of their own, and I'm like, are our cultures at war? I mean,
he could speak Drac. Okay,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
We've established that white people are really bad and they don't learn the language. So the fact that he could speak Drac, they were just like, "You're in."
Yeah, and then he's like, "Where's Jerry?" And they're like, "Ah, you're out." You know.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the crudest infiltration scene.
This is
ever.
A-Team style.
And I'm sorry. I think I was like 1 second too late there. Go to like 14.
Well, I had a related note on this too.
Or he goes like this.
The framing of this shot, and then they cut away and they cut back to it. It's really visually striking. With the big circle in the center and like the men in their suits.
What kind of trouble? This guy.
Bam, bam. Close up, and then we show him.
Wolfgang Peterson was no slouch.
Look at that. That's a painting.
He took over. It went from a pretty workaday Star Trek episode from the original series to something like, wow, that's way higher quality than I was expecting in this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this was time to die. Like, this was exactly his mode in Blade Runner.
Should I run it? Or
yeah, run. I'm sorry, run it for like 2 seconds.
You killed my brother Johnny.
Oh, he's such a bad actor.
Out there.
You can stop running.
You're gonna get a copyright strike.
Yeah.
no, I'm just waiting for you to tell me to stop. All right.
My brother Johnny, and you're like, what is this? The 50s? So as these folks emerge, my wife's like, this is a lot like that one Indiana Jones movie when they're in the thing with stuff. And I'm like, Temple of Doom? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, actually, yeah, you're right. This is like the scene where all the slave kids rise up while looking for the Shinkara stones or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And and are coming out of the little tunnels and mines, and all their minds have been freed from the magician's curse or whatever. And I was like, yeah, actually, there's a lot of commonalities here. And she's like, yeah, and like the mines, they look very much like it. And I'm like, I wonder where it was filmed. Just saying, because it was the year before, so maybe they reused sets.
Here's our last one.
And I really like this ending. I really like
Great.
How they include his name in the lineage of that particular family. I think that's great.
Fullness of time, Zamis brought its own child before the Holy Council. The name of Willis Davidge was added to the line of Jeriba.
I mean, all right, man.
It's a hell of an ending, you know, for that movie.
That's a fun movie. Shocked that I had not seen it.
Yeah, me too. Wolfgang Peterson, Das Boot, and this movie.
Thank you, sir. It was a big budget. It was a flop. It made no money, but it is weirdly beloved. I don't know, like, so I tweeted this one a couple of times, and like several people were like, "Oh, I love that movie," and like that's like it got a really positive response from people. This is a beloved movie.
It was just kind of different. You know what I mean? It's a different story than had been told in all those 80s sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, whose turn is it next week?
It's mine.
Oh,
Yes.
So I had a movie all picked out, and then you reminded me that it was Halloween. So I decided it should probably be a Halloween-ish movie. And, you know, like, the 80s were the time where all those slasher films were born. So I thought about that for a little while, and I thought, nah. Then I thought maybe American Werewolf in London, or They Live, or something like that. But I thought we'll get to those eventually. So what I chose was a 1987 favorite of mine, starring Mickey Rourke when he had his real face, Robert De Niro, and Lisa Bonet. It's called Angel Heart.
Oh, no.
It is a horror detective movie.
Oh, my God.
A combination not often seen in cinema.
And that's what we're going to watch.
Oh,
All
my
right.
goodness.
All right.
You're going to do that to us, aren't you?
I like Angel Heart. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know about it.
So all I know about, so I've never seen it. All I know about it is when I was working in the video store, we had like 6 copies and they never moved an atom from the shelf.
Really?
Nobody ever rented it. It was just, it was like covered in toxic waste or something. I don't know what it was. I remember when we got it and I was like, oh, Lisa Bonet, she's cool. And then like, they just stood there looking at it.
This movie was a big deal because it almost didn't get released because it was rated X.
It was?
Yes, so they had to fight to get it back down to an R. And after you have watched it, you will realize just how ridiculous those rating boards are. Because what they ended up having to take out, which I'm sure will probably be back in whatever version we watch, is absolutely ridiculous. It is. There's no way this movie should have been rated X. I think it just got that because it starred one of the Cosby kids in a sex scene, and I think that was too much for people, and they were like, "No way."
The iron fist of Cosby stretches very far.
Well, yeah, and you know Cosby, he would never do anything untoward.
No, he's
Right.
He's an American hero. Hey guys, let's make sure that anybody who happens to have an 8:00 meeting isn't late for it.
Oh, for sure.
Fare thee well, Chris DeBona.
Thanks for having me.
And Rob Roseboom.
See ya.
And Nate Ostendorp.
Adios.
I am Rob Commander Taco Malda. This has been Geeks in Space 534. We'll see you Friday with some news.